Tell me something, Celine said quietly, her voice barely carrying across the throne room. If I fail, will you come for me? Kaler Draven didn't answer immediately. He sat there, still, composed, untouchable, as if the question itself didn't deserve urgency. The Alpha King, feared across territories, didn't move for uncertainty. He created it. Finally, his gaze lifted to hers. Cold, measured, dangerously unreadable. You won't fail. It wasn't reassurance. It was expectation. Celine held his gaze a second longer than she should have. Long enough to feel it, that familiar pull. Not warmth, not comfort. Something sharper. Something that always made her forget where she stood. And if I do? She pressed. A mistake. The room shifted. Not visibly, but she felt it. The guards. The advisors. The silent reminder that Omegas didn't challenge kings. Kaler leaned back slightly, studying her now, not as a ruler would assess a subject, but as something else. Something quieter. More dangerous. Then you won't return. The words landed clean. No softness. No apology. Just truth. Celine nodded once. Because that was what she had expected. Not protection. Not rescue. Just purpose. Understood. He rose then, the movement effortless, commanding attention without asking for it. The room adjusted around him instinctively, but his focus didn't shift. It stayed on her. You leave at first light, he said. Rovan Kale doesn't tolerate delays. Celine's chest tightened at the name. Everyone knew him. The rival alpha. Brutal. Calculated. Untouchable in his own territory. And he doesn't negotiate twice. Which meant she had one chance. Kaler stepped closer now. Not enough to break formality. Enough to change the air. You will secure the truce, he continued. No matter what it costs. There it was. The real command. Not if. What it costs. Celine swallowed slowly. Yes, my king. Silence followed. But he didn't step away. Didn't dismiss her. Didn't break the moment. And that was worse. Because it meant he was choosing to stay in it. His gaze dropped briefly, just once, to her lips before returning to her eyes. So fast she almost missed it. Almost. Be careful what you offer, he said quietly. The words felt different. Not like a king's warning. Like something else entirely. Celine's pulse stumbled. I thought you said I couldn't fail. His expression didn't change. I didn't say it would be easy. A pause. Then softer. And I didn't say you would come back unchanged. That stayed with her. Long after she left the room. Long after the palace faded behind her. Long after the warmth of safety disappeared into cold forest air and unfamiliar silence. Because as Celine rode toward enemy territory, toward a man known for breaking everything he touched, one thought refused to leave her. Kaler hadn't promised to come for her. Not once. And somehow, that hurt more than the danger ahead. Celine felt him before she saw him. Tell me something, the guard beside her muttered as the gates creaked open, iron scraping against stone. Do you know what happens to those who come here uninvited? Celine didn't look at him. I wasn't uninvited. The guard let out a quiet breath. That's worse. The gates parted fully. And the moment she crossed into Rovan Kale's territory, everything changed. The air felt different. Heavier. Warmer. Like something alive was watching. The compound rose ahead of her, carved into dark stone and shadow, towering over the forest like it had been there long before any kingdom dared to exist. No banners. No symbols. Just presence. Power that didn't need announcing. Celine slid off her horse slowly, her boots touching unfamiliar ground as a ripple moved through the gathered alphas. They were watching her. Not casually. Not curiously. Assessing. Predatory. Her pulse quickened, but she didn't lower her gaze. Didn't show weakness. Because that was the first rule. Never let them see you react. State your purpose. The voice came from ahead. Calm, controlled, but carrying enough weight to silence everything else. Celine lifted her chin. I bring terms of peace from Alpha King Kaler Draven. Silence followed. Then, a shift. Subtle, but unmistakable. They stepped aside. Not fully, just enough, creating a path. For him. Celine's breath slowed. Steady, prepared. But the moment Rovan Kale stepped into view, everything inside her faltered. Not visibly, but deeply. He didn't look like what she expected. He looked worse, stronger, sharper. Every line of him carried control, tight, deliberate, dangerous in a way that didn't need to be proven. His gaze found her instantly, locked, and didn't move. Celine felt it, like pressure against her skin, like being seen too clearly, too quickly. You came alone, he said. Not a question. Her voice stayed steady. I was sent alone. His eyes narrowed slightly. Interest, not approval. You're either very brave, he continued, stepping closer, or very expendable. The word should have stung. Celine didn't react. I'm here to negotiate, not to be evaluated. A pause. Then, a slow smile. Not warm, not kind. Interested. Everything is evaluated, Rovan said quietly. He stepped in front of her now. Close. Too close. Celine held her ground, even when his scent hit her fully. Warm. Dark. Overwhelming. Her breath caught. Just for a second. And that was enough. Rovan noticed. Of course he did. His gaze sharpened slightly. Tracking. Learning. You're affected, he murmured. Celine's jaw tightened. I'm not. Another step closer. Now there was no space. Only awareness. Only tension. Then prove it. Her pulse spiked. Because this wasn't negotiation. This was control. And she was already inside it. Celine forced herself to meet his gaze fully. Not flinching. Not stepping back. Not breaking. I'm here for peace, she said. Then you came to the wrong place. His voice dropped lower. Closer. Dangerous in a way that didn't sound like a threat. It felt like one. Silence stretched between them. Thick. Charged. Rovan tilted his head slightly, studying her like something unexpected. You don't smell afraid, he said. Celine exhaled slowly. I'm not. A lie. A partial one. Because fear wasn't the problem. It was everything else. Something flickered in his expression. Approval? No. Something darker. Good, he said. Then turned. Just like that. Breaking the moment, but not the tension. Bring her inside. The command snapped through the air. Immediate. Unquestioned. Celine didn't move right away. Because something felt off. Not wrong. Not unsafe. Worse. Intentional. Like she had just stepped into something she didn't fully understand. And couldn't control. Rovan glanced back once. Just once. And the look he gave her wasn't about politics. Wasn't about peace. It was something else entirely. Something that made her pulse spike. And her instincts sharpen. Try not to run, he added casually. Then, softer. Not yet. Celine's breath caught. Because she understood. Not the meaning. Not fully. But the weight behind it. And as she stepped forward, following him into the compound, one truth settled deep in her chest. This wasn't going to be a negotiation. It was going to be a test. And she had just become the center of it. Celine realized very quickly. Rovan Kale did not negotiate like other alphas. He didn't sit across from her. Didn't keep distance. Didn't pretend this was equal. The long table in the center of the chamber remained untouched, polished, and waiting for a conversation that never happened. Instead, he stood beside her. Too close. Always too close. You memorize the terms? he asked, circling slowly behind her. Celine kept her gaze forward. Yes. Say them. Her fingers tightened slightly at her sides. Mutual border withdrawal. Trade access restored under shared watch. No expansion into contested territories. Boring. The word cut through her recitation. Celine stopped. Her jaw tightened. These terms prevent bloodshed. Rovan stepped into her space again, close enough that his voice lowered without effort. Bloodshed is predictable, he said. Peace is not. Her pulse quickened. Not from fear. From the way he said it. Like peace wasn't something he trusted. Or wanted. Celine turned to face him now. Finally. This is bigger than what you want. A mistake. She knew it the second his gaze sharpened. But she didn't take it back. Couldn't. Rovan tilted his head slightly. You think I don't understand scale? I think you understand control, she replied evenly. Not compromise. Silence fell. Heavy. Charged. The kind that warned something had shifted. But instead of anger, Rovan smiled. Slow. Interested. Dangerous. Good, he said quietly. Celine blinked once. Good. I was wondering how long you'd keep pretending. His eyes moved over her face, not casually, deliberately, like he was stripping away every layer she tried to hold in place. You're not here just to repeat orders, he continued. You're thinking, measuring, adjusting. He stepped closer again, closing the space she had just created. And that makes you useful. Celine's breath stayed steady, but just barely. I'm not here to be useful to you. You already are. The certainty in his voice unsettled her more than anything else. Because it didn't sound like manipulation. It sounded like fact. Rovan moved past her this time, brushing close enough that his arm grazed hers. Light. Breeze. Intentional. Celine's breath caught. Just for a second. But he felt it. Of course he did. He stopped. Turned slightly. You react, he said, quieter now. Not accusing. Observing. Celine forced herself to still. I'm human. No, he corrected. The word landed softer than expected, but heavier. You're aware. His gaze held hers again. And this time, it lingered. Longer. Deeper. Celine swallowed. Because awareness wasn't the problem. It was what came with it. The way her body responded when he stepped too close. The way her thoughts fractured when his voice dropped. The way something unfamiliar and dangerous kept pulling her attention back to him. You should focus on the agreement, she said. A weak deflection. She knew it. Rovan did too. The agreement will happen, he said. Simple. Unbothered. Celine frowned slightly. You're agreeing? I didn't say that. Frustration flickered through her. Then what are you saying? Rovan stepped closer again. Slower this time. Deliberate. Until the space between them disappeared once more. I'm saying, he murmured, his voice lower now, closer, that the outcome doesn't depend on the terms. Celine's pulse spiked. Then what does it depend on? A pause. Just long enough to matter. Then, you. The words settled between them. Heavy. Unavoidable. Celine's breath hitched. Because that didn't make sense. It shouldn't make sense. You don't even know me, she said quietly. Rovan's gaze didn't shift. I know enough. His hand lifted slightly. Not touching. Hovering. Close enough that she could feel the heat of it without contact. Testing. Waiting. Celine didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't give in. But she didn't break the moment either. And that was enough. Rovan lowered his hand slowly. Not disappointed. Not surprised. Certain. You'll stay, he said. Not a question. Celine's chest tightened. For the negotiation. Another pause. Then. We'll see. Her pulse stumbled. Because something about the way he said it didn't feel temporary. And for the first time since arriving, Celine realized something she hadn't allowed herself to consider before. She wasn't just here to secure peace. She was here, on his terms. Celine knew something was wrong the moment the gates didn't open. She stood at the entrance, the same path she had entered now sealed by still guards and quiet tension. "Open the gates," she said calmly. No one moved. Her chest tightened. "I've completed the negotiation. I'm returning to my king." Silence. Not defiance. Obedience. She turned. Rovin was already there. Watching. "You're leaving early," he said. "The agreement is done." "Is it?" The question landed wrong. "We settled the terms," she replied. "We discussed them." A step closer. "That's not the same." Her pulse quickened. "You said it would happen." "I said the outcome didn't depend on the terms." Her breath caught. "And now?" Rovin stopped in front of her. "Crows." "It still doesn't." Celine's fingers curled. "You don't get to change this." "I didn't." The certainty unsettled her more than anger. "Then move." "A mistake." He stepped closer. "No." Soft. Final. Her heart slammed. "This isn't your decision." "It is now." The shift was instant. No more testing. Just control. Celine stepped back. "You can't keep me here." "You came alone," he said. "No witnesses. No leverage." Her pulse spiked. "And Killer won't notice?" Rovin's gaze didn't move. "I think he knew exactly what could happen." The words hit hard. "You were a risk," he continued. "Or a sacrifice." "No," she said, too fast. His eyes sharpened. "Then prove it." Her breath tightened. "How?" A pause. "Stay." The words settled heavy between them. Celine shook her head. "That's not negotiation." "No," he said. "It isn't." His hand lifted slow, stopping just short of her arm. Not touching. Waiting. Celine didn't move, caught between instinct and control. "Why?" she asked. Rovin's gaze held hers. "Because I don't let go of what matters." Her breath caught. This wasn't about peace anymore. It was about her. "You don't know me," she said. "I know enough." "Not testing now." "Certain." "You're making a mistake." "No," he said quietly. "You're just realizing you don't have control." The truth pressed in. Sharp. Unavoidable. The gates behind her remained closed. Final. And Celine understood. This wasn't delay. This was a decision. And it wasn't hers. Celine didn't go back to her room. She didn't trust herself to. Didn't trust the silence. Didn't trust the way her thoughts kept circling back to him. To the way he said stay like it wasn't a request. Like it was already decided. The corridor was empty. Too quiet. Too still. And yet, she knew she wasn't alone. "You're avoiding me." The voice came from behind her. "Whoa." Quoes. Celine closed her eyes briefly before turning. "I'm thinking." Rovin leaned against the stone wall, arms loose at his sides, watching her like he had been there longer than she realized. "About leaving?" he asked. Her jaw tightened. "About options." A faint shift in his expression. "Interest." "Good," he said. "You should." Celine frowned slightly. "You're letting me choose?" "I'm watching you try." The words hit differently. Not mocking. Certain. He pushed off the wall and stepped toward her. Slow. Deliberate. Every movement measured. Celine held her ground until he stopped in front of her. Close. Too close. Again. Her breath betrayed her first. A slight catch. Barely there. But he felt it. "You keep reacting," he murmured. "I keep breathing," she shot back. His gaze dropped briefly to her lips. Then back. Not like that. Her pulse spiked. Because he was right. And they both knew it. Celine forced herself to steady. "You said I had a choice." "You do." "Then I'm leaving." The words came firm. Clear. Rovin didn't move. Didn't block her. Didn't argue. That was worse. Celine hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, he stepped closer, closing the space completely. Then go, he said quietly. Her breath faltered. Because he hadn't moved aside. Hadn't created space. Hadn't made it possible. You're in my way, she said. Am I? His voice dropped lower. Closer. Her pulse hammered. Move. Another pause. Then. No. Soft. Final. Celine's control slipped. Just slightly. You said I could choose. You can, he replied. His hand lifted then. Slow. Deliberate. This time, it didn't stop. His fingers closed around her wrist. Not rough. Not gentle. Certain. Celine froze. Not from fear. From the contact. Wham! Grounding. Impossible to ignore. Her breath caught sharply. Let go, she whispered. But she didn't pull away. Rovan noticed. Of course he did. His grip didn't tighten. Didn't loosen. Just stayed. You're still here, he said. Her chest rose unevenly. Because you won't let me leave. His gaze held hers. No, he said quietly. Because you haven't walked away. The truth of it hit harder than it should have. Because something inside her, something she didn't want to name, had hesitated, had stayed. His thumb shifted slightly against her wrist. A small movement, but it sent a sharp, unexpected heat up her arm. Celine inhaled sharply. Stop, she said. But it lacked force, lacked certainty. Rovan stepped closer again. If that was even possible, until there was no space left. Only him. Only this. You don't want me to stop, he murmured. Her heart slammed. That's not. He cut her off. Not with words. With proximity. With presence. With the way his free hand lifted. Slow. Deliberate. Hovering near her jaw. Waiting. Celine didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't break. And that was the answer. His fingers brushed her skin. Light. Barely there. But enough to send a shiver through her. Not forced. Not taken. Given. And taken at the same time. Celine's breath trembled. Because this wasn't control anymore. Not just his. Hers too. And she was losing it. Rovan watched her carefully. Not rushing. Not pushing. Learning. Memorizing. You feel it, he said quietly. Not a question. Celine closed her eyes briefly. Just for a second. Because denying it felt impossible now. Dangerous. Real. When she opened them again. He was still there. Still watching. Still waiting. And somehow, that was worse than if he had taken everything from her. Because this was her choosing to stay in it. Celine didn't pull away. That was the first thing Rovan noticed. Not her uneven breath. Not the tension in her shoulders. The fact that she stayed. His fingers rested lightly at her jaw, giving her space to step back. She didn't. You're thinking too much, he murmured. Celine exhaled slowly. And you're not thinking at all. A faint shift at his mouth. I'm being precise. His hand moved slow, sliding from her jaw to her neck. Not gripping. Resting. Celine inhaled sharply. Her pulse betrayed her instantly beneath his touch. You respond to control, he said. Her eyes snapped to his. I respond to being cornered. Is that what this is? The question lingered. Because it didn't feel like it anymore. I didn't say I liked it, she said. You didn't say you didn't. He stepped closer. No space left. His thumb brushed her pulse once. Slow. Measured. Celine's fingers curled. Stop. Then say it. The demand was quiet. Damn. She hesitated. You're making it hard to think, she said finally. Did. The words settled low. Celine exhaled sharply. That's not a victory. It is if you stop pretending this is only strategy. Her chest tightened, because that was exactly what she had been doing. Clinging to the mission. To Kaler. To control. Rovin's hand shifted slightly, anchoring. You're still deciding who you belong to, he said. I don't belong to anyone. A beat. Then he leaned closer, almost touching. Then why are you still here? The question hit deep. Celine's breath caught. No answer came. You could have fought harder, he continued. Forced distance. His thumb traced her pulse again. But you didn't. That doesn't mean anything. It means everything. Silence stretched. Because they both knew. She wasn't just being held here. She was staying. Rovin pulled back slightly, studying her. You're not ready to leave, he said. You don't decide that. I already did. Her pulse jumped again. And part of her hated that she believed him. His hand dropped from her neck. The absence hit immediately. Cool. Empty. Celine noticed. Rovin didn't react. You'll stay tonight, he said. Not a command. Something quieter. Celine hesitated. Tonight. Slaw. But enough. Rovin stepped back fully. Space returned. But not control. Good. He turned away. And Celine realized he didn't need to stop her anymore. Because now, she wasn't sure she wanted to leave. The forest air burned with anticipation. Every branch, every shadow seemed to carry her scent, and Kaler moved through it like a predator born to hunt. His boots barely made a sound on the fallen leaves, but his presence radiated power, a warning to anyone who dared cross him. Celine Vera crouched near the riverbank, heart hammering. She had known he would come, she always did, but the speed, the intensity, the undeniable force of his pursuit caught her breath. Her pulse raced not from fear alone, but from the memory of his hands, the way he had claimed her once and made every nerve in her body scream for more. She wanted to run, to disappear into the shadows, but her Omega instincts whispered something she couldn't ignore. The danger wasn't just outside, it was inside her, tethered to him, alive in every shiver, every quickened breath. Kaler stepped into the clearing, moonlight catching the angles of his face, the hard set of his jaw, the fire in his amber eyes. Celine, he growled, low and deliberate, each syllable dragging desire and command together. You thought you could escape? Her lips parted, not in defiance, but in a gasp that betrayed her longing. I couldn't. He closed the distance in 3 strides, and the world shrank until it was just him, her, the forest, and the ache between them. His fingers grazed her jaw, thumb brushing against her cheek, tracing a path that left fire in its wake. You belong with me, he murmured. Not your king, not your rival, not anyone else. Celine's knees weakened, the tension coiling in her belly, her chest, her heart. She had survived dangers before, but none as consuming as this, the raw, unrelenting claim of a man who refused to be denied. His lips hovered near her ear, whispering threats laced with desire. You felt my hands before. You remember. You know this isn't just hunger, it's something primal. Something only I can satisfy. And she did remember. Every brush, every touch, every intimate command he had used to imprint her. Desire twisted with fear, a potent cocktail she could no longer control. Kaler pressed her back against the ancient oak. The bark pressed into her spine, grounding, containing, focusing the storm of emotions between them. He lowered his mouth to her neck, teeth grazing the sensitive skin just beneath her ear, drawing a shiver that wasn't entirely from fright. You think leaving would save you? His voice was a growl. You're mine. And I will find you. Every time. Celine's lips parted in surrender, letting the tension spill between them. Her hands pressed against his chest, feeling the power beneath his skin, the heat that matched her own. She knew then that resistance was meaningless. Desire had claimed her first, and now the Alpha King who hunted her would not let go.